All right, welcome back to Simple Healthy Life, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations. And this one's been on my mind this week a lot. I had a particularly insightful conversation with someone, but I often hear this, and I'm sure you hear this as well. And I'm sure people listening can relate. I even relate. But the thought is, I can give compassion. In fact, I value giving compassion to all sorts of people, right? Being a human is hard. And so when you're suffering or you're struggling with something, I want to show you that compassion. I feel for you, right? I feel for all people who are struggling. But self-compassion, me turning that on myself, is a lot harder, right? And this is something I hear a lot. The most compassionate people I know will often say, yeah, but self-compassion, giving compassion to myself or my humanity, that's something I really struggle with, right? Um, and I was thinking about it, and I think it's interesting because we only really know one human experience in totality, right? I know Alicia deeply, right? You know Corey deeply. Um, I know a lot of what Alicia thinks. I know a lot of like her motivations. I know a lot, but I know there's a lot I don't see, right? Those questionable motives, those thoughts you might not say out loud, right? I know I have them. Um, those motivations where you're kind of like, I don't know if this is actually the right call, or maybe I can get away with this, right? Um, we only know the totality of one human experience, right? We're only granted that, and yet that one human we fail to show compassion for a lot of the time. And so I was reflecting on how true then is the compassion we give for other people, right? And bottom line, before people kind of say, "Well, I'm giving compassion. I'm really compassionate." I think we are showing compassion for other people, right? I really believe that we are giving that like true, authentic experience of compassion to other people. But I do wonder, like sometimes the people we show compassion for, is it conditional, right? If we had learned all their motives, all their hard, potentially evil thoughts, would we say, actually, you deserve to be in that spot. I'm not going to show you that compassion anymore. And I think that's a really hard thought. I think that a lot of people would at first kind of like put up the blockade and say, nope, that's not true. But why then can't you show yourself compassion, right? I think people have a hard time because they see their flaws. They see who they'd like to be. They know who they'd like to be, but they see also where they are, right? They see their experiences up until this point. They see their thoughts up until this point. And yeah, I think it is our responsibility with the one human we know in totality with 100% certainty to show that human compassion.
Oh man, I think there's so many reasons why we don't do it. I think there's so many reasons. And I think one of them, I'll just run down a list of the things that come into my head real quick. One of them is by showing compassion to myself, it feels like a cop out. I already know I know the real reason I did the thing I did, and I know the real reason that led me to do the thing I did, and now it's kind of I'm faced with this ugly face of the thing that I did. So I'll just show compassion to myself, and that's fine. It's over. Oh, I'm just human, right? There's one. Number two, when we show compassion to other people, I think a lot of times we're in some regards saying that we kind of accept it for them. Like, okay, you're in a really bad spot. I accept that you're a human and that you make mistakes. You makes mistakes, right? And I don't have to live with that every day, so I can show you compassion and want very badly for your suffering to be lessened, right? Like maybe it affected me, maybe it didn't affect me, maybe you're just telling me a story about something bad you did to somebody else or whatever the case may be, but I can accept that for you. I don't want to accept that for myself, right? I did the thing that I did, or I'm in the spot that I'm in, or whatever, but I don't want to show myself compassion because I don't want it to feel like it comes with acceptance. Because I don't want to accept that I have those behaviors within me. I don't want to accept that I'm capable of lying and cajoling and misplacing my trust or misplacing my trust in someone else. I don't want to accept that. I want to accept the parts of me that are good, that I show to the world, that come out. And those other parts, I don't want to show compassion for because I don't want to accept that they're there. And by not doing it, maybe they're not there. Maybe today they're not there. And we'll just deal with them when they come up. I don't know. Those are the things I think about when you say like being compassionate to others. Like, I love what you're saying about like I want to show compassion. I feel like I show compassion. And I feel like it's almost like because I have those parts in me, I can respect and understand that you likely have those parts in you too, and I can accept those for you. Right? I know that's part of it. I know that's part of the human experience. I know that that's all the bubbles that come up and all the things. But I don't want to do it for me. I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah. Can you show? We'll weave this back in. It'll make sense. But can you show too much compassion to people? Could you be an overly compassionate person, like in a bad way, I guess?
Well, okay. I don't know the answer to that question, but let's take it at the worst level, right? Let's just, for the hell of it, just see if we can go like as bad as it can be.
Sure.
Right? Person breaks into your house, shoots your wife, kills her. It's as bad as I can think of off the top of my head, right? Compassion, as far as I'm kind of like thinking about it, is like coming to an understanding that this other human lived a human existence and had all sorts of parts of them that drove them to do something that included taking somebody else from you forever. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could show compassion there, personally. I don't know if time would allow me to eventually see it for that. Right? I mean, I know it wouldn't be for a long time. I don't know if I could get there. I don't know if anybody. I know people do. We've seen it. We've read about it. Right? We've heard the stories about the people that do the things like that. But I don't know.
Yeah. I guess my thought there would be that no circumstances lead to that outcome being like a reasonable outcome, right? And so I don't know if I could show compassion to that. Or like the longer term example, you're in a relationship with someone who's like kind of abusive and you provide them compassion, right? They abuse you and then the next day it's kind of like, oh, I had a hard day, I had a hard upbringing, and then you say, oh, I understand. Yeah, maybe we can work through that, right? And then that's the response every time, right? That goes on for forever, years and years and years. It's just kind of a pattern, right? And I think when it comes to situations like that, is that we want people to feel responsible for their action. And sometimes compassion is like the back door, right? If I show compassion to my abuser, then maybe they'll never feel the need to be responsible, to take accountability, right? And then potentially change,
So,
right?
so let's flip it then. Can you be too compassionate to yourself?
Right.
What
That's
if
where I'm
you
going.
what if you're so compassionate to yourself that you're just accepting this terrible behavior all over and over and over again?
Right.
Well, I'm just human.
Right.
Oh, I did that thing because I'm just human.
And I think that's what we fear.
We fear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like letting yourself off the hook, and then if you do it one time, then maybe you do it again, and then maybe you do it again, and then maybe eventually you're just not, your behavior isn't what you want it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I say I'm like so privileged and blessed to get to understand people as deeply as I do. And that comes up a lot, this kind of like snowball effect, right? This people can kind of rationalize compassion in a moment. Yeah, I had a hard time and blah 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 blah, and I can get that, but I can't allow it to snowball. I can't allow this behavior to then turn into two of those behaviors, then three, then four, then before I know it, everything's chaotic and out of control, right? I think there's really great fear about this loss of self control, as if people don't trust themselves a lot of the time. I think that kind of theme comes up a lot as I talk with people, right? And this lack of compassion seems to be like the scaffolding that keeps their lack of trust under containment, right? And if they had released this kind of like punishment and negative self-talk, then all of a sudden everything would unfold, and that they would not do anything for themselves. They would be very sloth-like, and their life would be a mess because the scaffolding of punishment and self-deprecation was really holding things together. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that actually holds anything together.
No, I don't think it does either. What if we took compassion? What if we took compassion and acceptance and put them on opposite ends? Right? Like, okay, Ryan, me and you have been friends for a long time, and you did this thing that really hurt me. I don't know what it was, but it really hurt me. And I understand. I understand. I don't accept it. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. I would choose to no longer have you around me because I'm not sure that you won't do it again. But I understand. Is that compassion?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you really think about it, it doesn't appear to me that you need to be accepting of someone's actions to show them compassion, right?
Okay, so now what about internally?
Right. I don't think that we have to be accepting of our actions. I think that we can hold some amount of judgment that is adequate and appropriate with still being kind, right? And I think that's the distinction. I think wires get crossed there. It's like I have to punish myself. I have to keep myself alive, to whip myself into shape, because there's some amount of conditional acceptance of some kind, and we don't really know the line to draw. We don't know how to be responsible and kind, right? We don't know how to have judgment that isn't overly critical and just negative and dismantling and decaying to our relationship.
Do you think that we don't know because we don't have discussions like this with other people? Like, we're left simply, you said it best, like we only know our own humanity inside and out, completely. Like, and you said, like, you have discussions with Alicia, I have discussions with Corey, we have discussions on self, we have discussions on all sorts of topics. But do you think that we don't know how to do that for ourselves because we don't have discussions like this? No one's not like, the fifth grade class was not compassion and kindness, right?
No.
It was not self-awareness. It was not understanding humanity. It was facts and figures, and Columbus sailed the ocean blue, right?
That's a great point. Yeah, I think had I not, if I didn't have the role that I do, and I didn't have you, quite frankly, and the relationship that I do with Alicia, I don't think that I would understand that being human means being deeply, deeply, deeply flawed, right? Not to say that you guys are flawed people, but the people that I chat with on a regular basis have really helped me. It helped me see, right? Because I see in as much totality as you reasonably could with getting to know someone, connecting to someone, that humanness means that you're making decisions and you don't know why, that you can't really see it, that you don't really know what the right decision is, that you don't even know what your values are, that you're conditioned beyond your scope of recognition, and only until you understand those things, which takes a long time, years and years and years, decades,
and effort
and guidance and support, amongst having to pay the bills and feed yourself and take care of others, right? Only until you recognize those things do you begin to be able to show some essence of compassion, because life is just kind of hard, right? We're not making decisions that are identifiably right or wrong in the moment, right? We're kind of just, we're winging it, and we're making value-based decisions. I'm making either a decision that's based on convenience because I'm tired, or I'm pushing myself a little bit because I know tomorrow's going to be harder if I don't, right? And who's to say that's right or wrong? In fact, there aren't rules, right? There aren't rules. Maybe taking just a simplifying example, maybe taking the rest day today really is the right call. Or maybe it really is kind of like sloth-like and lazy in some ways, right? But you don't really know until you have deeper understanding of what is actually happening. And, our brains are not complicit with a lot of life's tasks, right? Things are kind of too stimulating, and we're removed from these like inner thoughts and deep feelings and center of awareness. So long story short, I get to see a lot of that, and that's really helped me, because I get it. Like I really do. I got some deep flaws, but also I've grown kind to those, while still saying, well, I really respect too future Ryan. I want to make sure future Ryan is taken care of, and by taking care of future Ryan, that means I can take care of other people, and and I'll learn along the way.
Let's just throw something out there for you. What if everything you do is selfish? Every single thing. Every single thing that you do is selfish, right? The first thing people do is they throw that idea out the window. Nope, I'm not a selfish person. Okay, fair. But ultimately, your motivations are simply your own. You did whatever you did for your reasoning. And you internalize and understand, I feel good about that reason, making me not selfish. Or I don't feel good about that reason, making me selfish. You're the only one that knows. Right? I donated $1,000 to a little league. Right? I don't even have a kid. I did not donate it.
I was going to say, wow.
I know. I didn't. But I don't even have a kid, right? Well, what did I do it for? Well, I did it because I know that the Little League's a valuable thing for kids, and that's, that will really help them. Sure. Well, I did it because I want my name on the banner on the thing. Also fine. Well, I did it because I want people in my town to know who I am, so that maybe they come to my business later on. Also fine. But only I know.
Mm-hmm.
Only I know. And what if it's the first one? Sure. What if it's the third one? What if it's the second one? What if it's the one that I don't really agree with? or I don't want to agree with, I don't want it to be that one, but it is that one, can I show compassion to myself for doing even something like that? Can I say, compassion, not justification, right? Okay, that was my motivation. That was it. I just wanted the people to come to my business. So I knew that they'd put my sign up. I knew that they'd interview him in the paper. I knew that I just get to shake hands with the Little League president. And I knew I'd get to say a couple minutes about my business. Again, not good or bad, unless I justify it or deem it good or bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a tough one, right? Because I think you're saying basically, is true, are we truly altruistic, right? Just doing good for good's sake. Can we be? I think that we can be. I think it's really hard though, because I see these videos of like people helping homeless people, right? Right. And it's great sometimes what they do. Like, here, I'm going to take you in. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. What are they doing that for? Why are they filming it? Right. And it probably is a good action, right? We can't necessarily, like you said, I mean, like, to help is good. But does it actually change your internal environment? Because you already got your reward, right? And that's like one of the like a biblical concept too, is that if you do good yet share it with the world, you already receive the reward. You receive the praise and the whatever. That's your reward. You don't receive internal reward for that, right? And so to do good just for good's sake, I mean, that is potentially pretty important. You could be doing all sorts of good, but sharing about to everyone how all you're doing all these good things, right? And it seems like that then like goes off into the ether, right? You don't get to hold on to that and be like, yeah, but I did that because I wanted to, right?
It's like you said though, it's all messy. It's all messy. The whole human experience, messy, right? Most people never get the opportunity to even look at this stuff. Right? They're like you said, they're feeding themselves, they're feeding their family, they're worried about future Ryan, they're wrapped up in all of the things, and then someone says, "Hey, Ryan, I did this really tough thing, and I'm looking for forgiveness for it, or I'm not looking for forgiveness for it. I just need to share it with you." Or you saw them do the thing, and then you say, "I can have compassion for that. I can understand." Because it's all messy. But as soon as it happens to us, as soon as we're the person doing the thing, we go, "No, I don't want to have compassion for that," because of the snowball effect or because of our own upbringing, right? Compassion leads to weakness, right? These things that we've been shown through society, right? I think in many ways, like society right now would actually, without saying it, they almost shun compassion. They'd prefer you to be angry, upset, outraged at another group of people or another country, right? I love the China example, right? China bad.
Yeah.
Like billions of people, billions of people bad, right? Like, and then you'll talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, You're like, okay, conversation over. Like, I have compassion for the fact that you feel that way, because whatever life has shown you, whatever imagery you have seen, I don't accept it. That's an easy one for me. Okay, China bad, got it. Whatever you say, right? Russia bad.
Yeah.
Iran bad.
Right.
Like, okay, really?
No discernment at all.
Nothing to do with any logical thinking, and it's understandable because right back to it. They're feeding their family. They're working hard. They're trying to take care of future Ryan. Right. Perfect. 1, 2, 3, and then eventually somebody shows them this thing that says China bad. They're like, China bad, got it.
Yeah.
Right. But then we go internalize that stuff. Mike bad. Ugh. Ugh. Mike Judge. Mike Judge Mike. Mike good at judging Mike. Mike's sure that he's good at judging Mike.
Yeah.
Mike's done bad things.
Yeah.
No compassion there. Nope.
Nope.
I know all the reason Mike did the bad things. I even know the crazy part is I know Mike tried real hard not to do the bad things. I know Mike thought about the bad things and then was like, I can't do those. Don't do those bad things anymore. And then did them again. Ugh, even worse. Now Mike really bad.
Yeah.
And then it's like, whoa, Mike not deserving of compassion. Mike was deserving of compassion once or twice, maybe 3 or 4 times.
But not all those
But
other
not
times.
now.
Right.
Mike has track record. Mike has pattern of behavior over 44 years.
Right.
Maybe young Mike, naive Mike, compassion. Older, should know better Mike, not showing him.
Oh.
Maybe acceptance, maybe a little, maybe, but not compassion. Nope. Deserves everything he gets.
Right. Which, it's, and we've talked about this many times, but again, that relationship to self, right? You have that relationship to self. You observe all the things that you also do. And so that is a hard thing to even begin to understand. The fact that we can observe our poor intentions, the fact that we followed through on those poor intentions, the fact that we had good intentions and then followed through with inadequate action, inappropriate action, and bad things happened, right? Or what we deem as bad things happened. The fact that we can see all that is just like kind of odd, right? The fact that we have an observer in awareness is just kind of weird when you really think about it. And I don't think we respect, because it's all we know, I don't think we actually respect the deep complexity that is there. And so the only way that I have come to understand this is that there is a relationship between the who we think we are, the actions, the thoughts, the emotions, and what we observe, right? There is a relationship there.
The who we think we are, and say that again.
The thoughts and emotions we feel. There's a relationship there, right?
They're not always in alignment.
They're not. There is we're observing of a subjective experience. It's a very odd thing, when you really think about it. And ultimately, there's no escaping that. You could try, right? You can absolutely try. People do, right? Drugs, alcohol, partying, whatever. Endless work, distraction, phone use, whatever. You try to escape as best you can, but at the end of the day, you have that relationship just begging for it to be fruitful, begging for it to be healthy, right? And we practice all these things, the lack of compassion and the rejection, the judgment, the overly critical judgment. We practice those things, and yet it doesn't actually help the end cause. And that's the thing that was most powerful for me. And I've been in a decent spot, comparatively so, with my self-talk and my relationship to self, comparatively so to previous. And the thing that's helped me the most is just recognizing if I want to do good, then that relationship, being as necessary and fundamental as it is, needs to be good. Right. So the fact that you beating yourself up, you rejecting, you punishing, if you really wanted good, you would have to take care of that, right? As if you were locked into a room with your best friend, or maybe you hate them. Maybe you hate the person you're locked into the room with, but for you to escape, you need to be working as a team. And so you can't actually be angry and or show anger, act upon it perhaps, or you can't reject that person. You can't just say, I just don't like how you are. It's not an answer. It's just not a solution to the end goal of escaping that prison. Right?
Well said. Yeah, I think you're right on point too. Like, I love that. If I want to do good, I have to line up the things inside me in a way where I get to or can do good. If I'm at war and my intentions are not in alignment with my values and my world, it's really hard for me to go out there in the world and do good. It's the Little League example. When I line myself up and say, "Why am I want to do good. I'm happy with who I am, and I think this would be a really great thing for me to do for the community." Then that's it. If it's like, well, how can I use this as a way to get what I want? Both are true. Both are fine. But internally, I'm like, I'm just using this to get what I want. So I'm arguing with myself, but not lining myself up and saying both are true.
Yeah, you know that you have full clarity to your intentions, your motives, or whatever. So as much as like the outside world might say, "Wow, MJ donated $1,000 to Little League. He's such a good guy." That means nothing for your relationship to self.
Nothing at all. Nothing. Internally, I know the reasons, and that. Yeah. So I got a question for you. This is I want to explore this without using ChatGPT. Define a mistake. Now, before you define a mistake, actually just define it for me. Use, I don't know, good luck. I define a mistake.
Well, I mean, what we would maybe think of as a mistake, right? I'll give you two answers. Probably what we think of as a mistake is, I did this thing that didn't achieve the outcome that I hoped to achieve, right? Okay. So I don't know. I was walking down the stairs and I hoped to get to the bottom uninjured, but I made a mistake. I slipped on a banana peel and I'm at the bottom injured, right? Okay. Mistake. But the hard thing is that we don't actually know what is good, right? We don't know what is ultimately good, right? In fact, many of our mistakes lead to the best experiences, right? Me slipping on the banana peel, getting injured, whatever, it could be a great story that I use for entertainment. It could ruin my physical capacities, but perhaps that provides me more meaning because then, I don't know, I take on the world. I get rid of all the litter around the world. Maybe that gives me ultimate meaning. Even like that thought where, a country ruled by a dictator, maybe one generation of a dictatorship gives rise to 1,000 generations of pure leaders because they learn from example, right? And so was that dictator bad? I mean, yes, but also, I mean, it led to good things across a longer time frame. It's really, point being, it's actually really hard for us to tell what is good, bad, right?
Oh, definitely. You said it best. It's messy. It's going to be messy, right? It's just you define your value system. Mm-hmm. Through your knowledge, through your experience, through the way that you've been brought up in the world. If you're, I almost judged the hell out of it, but like ultimately, like if you're capable, you can redefine it, right, in a way that serves you better, serves your family, friends, relationships better. But I want to go back to this concept of a mistake. You do this bad thing and you ruin a relationship. Mm-hmm. And then the person comes to you and they're like, dude, you did this thing or whatever. And you're like, I made a mistake. Do you say in your own head, in your own body, like, that was a mistake, or I made a mistake, right? That was a mistake. It did not end well. That was not the way I wanted that thing to go. I didn't actually mean for that to go that way. In fact, you were never supposed to find out, right? But it didn't mean I made a mistake. No, I made a whole bunch of mistakes. In fact, I intentionally chose to do the thing that I did, and then I was hoping you wouldn't find out, and all the things is what I'm really saying, but ultimately what I said is I made a mistake. So now when we go back to this versus self-compassion versus compassion for others, I can't tell myself, I can't give myself compassion for that because I know I didn't make a mistake. The outcome was the mistake. I made a whole bunch of choices that led to a bad outcome. And only I know that. And you can kind of glean in from it, right? Like, actually, Mike, you did that thing 3 or 4 times and I just wasn't supposed to find out. That was the most honest thing you said, right? But then you talk to your kid, okay, hey, how come you didn't do your homework? Well, I made a mistake. No, you didn't. You played video games until 2 o'clock in the morning. Then you fell asleep, and then you woke up, and then you probably planned to do it in the morning, and then you didn't. There was nothing mistake about it. The outcome was the mistake. You got a 0. Now we're having this conversation. But that's, I think, kind of boils down this like compassion versus self-compassion, because like there's no mistakes internally. Even if you drove your car into somebody else's car, you're like, holy shit, I made a mistake. Holy crap, I made a mistake. But you know you were texting.
Right.
You know you were spaced out. You know you didn't sleep good the night before.
Right.
It wasn't a mistake. It looks like a mistake, and you can call it an accident.
Right.
But it wasn't internally. So it's tough for you to say, I want to show myself some compassion. Billions of accidents. People make mistakes. 1 mistake a day per person, 7 billion mistakes a day. But the one that you make, can you show yourself some compassion for it?
Right.
I don't know.
I always thought that was like weird. I'm a pretty slow person. You know? Like I once had a friend say, if I walk any slower, my heart would stop. And it does so. I mean, I really do have a low heart rate too. I'm just kind of slow, right? I like that. I don't want to be any faster. So point being is like when I'm in a conversation, usually it takes me a bit to work through it, right? I'm kind of thinking and I'm pretty deliberate and all that. So for me, I've always found it a little strange when people would say, I had this conversation and I said something I didn't mean. I'm like, huh. I don't think that's a wrong thing. I think it's actually a very common thing. And there are a couple times where I've said, like, legit, maybe just a couple times where, yeah, I can change my mind, I can learn, I can grow, but maybe a couple times where I've miscommunicated strongly and how I expressed myself wasn't actually true. But very rarely am I kind of, if I'm honest, do I say, well, I didn't mean what I said. No, and when I say something, I probably do mean it, right? But I know that that's not everyone. I know that some people like, they get anxious and they just talk and things happen and emotions, get the better of them. And it's like, boom, I hate you. And it's like, no, I don't actually hate you. I was just kind of worked up. And that complicates things. Again, that's it's a very human thing. And point of that was just like, I've always found it hard in like a conversation to like accept that. Oh, I didn't mean what I said. I'm kind of thinking like, well, why don't I just say it, right?
Well, this kind of goes back to what I'm thinking. Like, it's tough for you to accept that because it's not a mistake that you're likely to make.
Right.
Like, but it's in there, right? You're capable of it. Mm-hmm. And the same thing with like a friend or a family member or something. Like, it's like really hard to accept that they made this mistake that's like really terrible, because you think, at least you're in your brain, you're like, I'm likely to not make that mistake. Like, I don't even understand how you could make that mistake. So because I don't understand it and I'm definitely not accepting it, not showing you compassion for it.
Right. And
so I think this goes back to that internal versus external.
Yeah. I mean, I have to, and to know what other humans experience is really important, right? To know that, how your relationship to self and how you operate the car that you're driving, the human body car that you're driving, and that's your way, right? And you have different buttons and all sorts of ways of operating that other people just work differently, right? They really do. And, compassion is understanding that really your observation of how you operate and how life is and your value system is not like others, right? And point being is like, you don't even know. You don't even know. You don't know anything. We don't know anything, right? And so you don't know what's good or bad. You know that sometimes it becomes clear that you've made a mistake. It becomes clear that you've acted wrong because you had wrong intentions, or you shortchanged yourself even, or that you did good with bad intentions even, or you did bad with good intentions. But to be aware, to be honest, to be truthful, to kind of like sit and reflect on some of those things, that's really important. I know a person who they like, yeah, I'm gonna obfuscate some of the details here. So what they do a lot of the time when confronted with a problem, this is someone who you'll bring up a problem to them and they'll say, yeah, I'm terrible. I make problems all the time. I'm going to do better. That's the first sentence, right? And we know people like that. I'm sure everyone knows people like that. And, you know, at first glance, you're kind of like, huh, they recognize.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go deeper.
But that's a complicated dynamic, because for you to recognize you've made a mistake, for you to feel what the other person is feeling, right? Your wife says, you didn't do this thing. You said you were going to do it. It really hurt me. I'm terrible. I'll do better, right? That subverts responsibility. You actually shortchange your wife. You don't say, let me feel that with you for a second. Tell me more about how I hurt you, right? And then they explain, and you say, yeah, that must have been pretty hard. And I think I did do wrong. And you know, maybe we'll work through this together, right? Maybe I have to approach this differently. Here's some of the things I considered, right? I had that going on. I had this going on, but it doesn't actually mean that doesn't mean that I should have acted that way, right? And I really am gonna try better. But the slowness of understanding and feeling, right? That's how we learn. You know, when someone kind of shuts it down and says, don't feel that emotion, don't feel anger towards me because I'm bad, I'm terrible, I'll fix it, right? That's not right.
Does it change behavior though for this person?
And it doesn't change behavior.
It doesn't change behavior
because it's a subversion of responsibility.
Right.
You know, the person needed you to feel. They needed you to feel bad in that moment. Feel with them, right? And feel bad. You could say you feel bad, and you can genuinely feel bad, but you're not actually understanding. You're not understanding the situation, right? You're kind of jumping the gun. I feel bad because I am bad. I'm terrible, and you know, I guess I just have to do more.
It's just a synonym for that's just the way I am.
Exactly.
You're not using those words.
Yep.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah.
They're almost shut down instantly.
Yep.
Oh, they know. Crap. I'm terrible. I mean, that's just the way I am.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's pointing the object of focus. It's taking it off of them and and the wives or friends or whatever, their struggle and what they're really trying to say, right? And you're not feeling with them. You're not feeling with them at all. You're saying, you know what? I'm the victim.
Yeah. Thank you for poinning out that I'm terrible.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
It's not what I'm pointing out at all.
And then you're asking for them to build you up, right? When in fact they just needed you to hear. And you know what? We can feel compassion towards that too, because hey, a relationship with self is one that is hard, right? And so, you know, at the end of the day, I think that you have to show yourself compassion, because it's the only way that you can build that relationship up with your internal roommate and escape the prison together for good, right? And your ability to show compassion to yourself does does translate in some way, at the very least, to show effective compassion for other people, right? If I can show myself compassion and keep and find the nuance between compassion, acceptance, and responsibility, then I've done a pretty solid job, and I can hold that same kind of line with other people. I can show them compassion without necessarily accepting what they've done and say, yeah, I get it. You know, we do make mistakes, and we do make mistakes almost intentionally, or we, you know, define
We'll call it
mistakes.
almost intentionally.
Almost
even though
intentionally.
A lot of times it is intentional.
Yeah. Because to figure out what to best do in this life is hard. And so I think it starts with us, though, right? It starts with some fairness to the relationship that you are closest to.
I think you're spot on. I know we're kind of running up towards our time that we usually like to keep these, but this thing always sticks with me, and it's just a philosopher that talks about, as far as we understand it, there's only one universe. And if you were only one thing, you, Ryan, were the only thing out there, you would have a really hard time understanding yourself. We have a hard time understanding ourselves, and we get to see everybody else's external relationship with the world. And you get to see a little bit of mine and a little bit of Alicia's, a little more of Alicia's, a little bit of, I get to see a little bit of Corey's, you get to see a little bit of a lot of people's. But ultimately, we all are the universe experiencing itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep that in mind, then it's okay that it's messy and weird and strange and includes good things and bad things and things that were obviously hurtful and things that were obviously done for good reasons, right? All of these things are ways that the universe can experience itself, including this inner monologue that you got, this inner dialogue that you have. It allows me a little bit to show a little more compassion for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the first time, as far as I know, I'm experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, each one, each experience is new. Even though we lose that when you get older. We know that when we're a kid, but we lose that when we get older because we relate it to an experience that we've had before. But ultimately, it's not. Mm-hmm. Each one of them is new, and each one of them is messy, and each relationship is different. And each person's experience with me is going to be different. And the side that I show the world is going to be different. But it's all here. It's all there. I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to sit and talk about this stuff and think about it. And hopefully we caused some thoughts from some other people. And I know I'm going to leave here today thinking about it for a while.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good. I am too. Yeah, I like that. Grateful for experience. I've used that kind of frame in a lot of ways, right? When you're experiencing happiness and celebration, I'm grateful for that experience. When you're experiencing deep, deep grief, we can still be grateful for the fact that that's a human experience, right? And the fact that we got to play a role in that is really, really special. Don't lose sight of that specialness, right? There is, whatever your beliefs are, there is, in fact, something miraculous happening. And yeah, I think ignorance to that doesn't help us, right? It certainly doesn't help us. And so consider that too. But yeah, be compassionate. Be compassionate to yourself.
Sweet.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
Great
well,
topic.
yeah. If you like these kinds of things, I don't know, interact in some way. That's kind of helpful, I think. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks. Cool. Nice.
Good work. That was fun.
Likewise.